What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Artful Chiropractor Podcast. My name is Dr. Ray Daniels, and this week I'm joined by Dr. Adrian Villalba. And the title of this podcast is obviously The Art of Adjusting Pregnant Mommas. Dr. Adrian is passionate about taking care of this population, and he has been grinding ever since he got out of school in terms of marketing and communication and training and developing himself so that he can serve this population at the very highest level. And this conversation, we dive into all the things as it relates to the art of adjusting and communicating, marketing, how to build the network, and reaching out to other professionals who work with this population. So I think you're going to enjoy it, especially if you are looking into adjusting moms and kids, and especially for the guys out there who are more hesitant about adjusting this population because for the obvious reasons of not being a woman and not having gone through childbirth and all these different things and stories that we can tell ourselves to prevent us from attempting to work with this population. Adrian does an awesome job of removing some of those barriers and how to communicate and really just create a safe space. And that's what people are looking for. And as he says, moms are just pregnant, and there's no reason to build such a huge story around why things have to be so different or complicated. So I think you all will enjoy this one. I love Dr. Adrian, and I'm just so grateful that he's given his time to give back to this community. He's constantly learning and growing and evolving, and there's very few people, if any, that work harder than this guy, and I'm just super grateful to be able to call him a friend. And with that, sit back, take some notes, get your pen and paper, and enjoy this episode. Dr. Adrian Villalba, welcome back to the podcast, man. It's good to have you on.
Dr. Raymond Daniels, thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm excited to just touch base, check back in. For our listeners who haven't checked your episode out, you can go back. I think it was in the 40s, 50s, 40s.
Something like that.
Somewhere
I don't remember. I think it was 52. Just over 50. I don't know. It's back there.
It's back there. But yeah, man, I'm excited to just check in a little bit. You have a little boy now, and you didn't have
a little boy.
How old's Rio now?
Yeah, so he is 8.5 months. I believe at the time that we recorded, I knew, but the word, it hadn't been out in the public or something like that. I remember there was something funny about it, but yeah, have a baby boy, the light of my life. He's amazing. A lot of work, but it's just one of those life events that has, it's been something that I've always wanted to do, and it actually ties in well with this episode, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Because I would say you were adjusting your wife, Lena, all the way through, and then Rio from the very beginning. So the title of this podcast is going to be The Art of Adjusting Pregnant Mommas. So
all right.
Kind of rolls right in. Yeah,
so totally. But funny enough, on that note, and I don't know if my wife's going to listen to this episode or not. Of course, I'm going to ask her to. But I think it's DeMartini that talks about how the closer a person is to you, the harder it is to give them care, like the care that you would give, and like the further away they are, the more they travel, kind of thing.
Right.
The more they're going to get out of it. And so with Lena being pregnant, she actually saw Lance. She was scheduled to see Lance more, and then similarly, I would be scheduled to see Monica. So
right,
Lance's wife, for those of you who don't know, and so. It's this funny thing. I definitely gave her as much care as I could, but the scheduled weekly, bi-weekly appointments were actually with Lance. But I was always there, of course.
Yeah, that's awesome. So why do you think that is? I've kind of thought about this, but I totally see it from the perspective that people kind of just have a certain view of you and their relationship with you. So I think that maybe gets in the way of care at times. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it can go a couple of different routes, and it's probably a bit of everything. But Lena knows me as Adrian, not Dr. Adrian, and she saw me through my rowdy wild 20s, and we had a whole nother career together. And then to transform into Dr. Adrian, for her, it's a different perspective. Also, because I also am like, well, that's bullshit. She's one of the person that I love the most, and I want to give her the most amount of care. And so, like Brett always talks about trying to be that empty vessel and having the work be through you. I think because I have such a deep connection with Lena and family members that it's harder to be as empty. But it's part of the training, and I definitely give her a lot of care. It's just
right.
I thought that she would be a little bit more proactive in seeking or like going to her visits, basically, if Lance was the one,
right?
Because she could bail on me, but like, oh, you'd have to bail on the other doctor,
a little bit more accountability.
Yeah. I don't know. It was fun too.
Cool, man. All right, dude. Let's start there. We talked, I think, briefly a little bit. You're definitely, your target market is the perinatal group moms. Before pregnancy, during pregnancy, afterwards. And there's just a lot that goes with that. And I briefly want to touch on just, marketing, getting out and talking with pregnant moms and kind of what that has been like for you. Because just from my experience in the office, so far, some moms come in, they have certain pains and different things, but then you'll get the moms who are like specific to like the Webster technique or something. So I'm curious to see kind of how you've been marketing in those conversations that you've been having with them, and then I guess the percentages of the reasons why pregnant moms are coming into you. Sure.
So one of the thing that I had to keep in my mind and something that just continuously would come up would be that moms are just like everybody else. They're just pregnant. And so, you have the same reasons why people come in to get chiropractic care all over the place. Some are in pain, some are there for wellness, some because they had someone tell them that it's a good thing to do while they're pregnant. Some are curious, some want want the best for their family and their future. And some have been doing it forever and just, they need a chiropractor that has the training. And so the modifications come from listening, again, connection over correction, and being able to make sure, of course, that you are safe when you're adjusting mamas, and making sure that you have, enough knowledge about what it is that you are affecting with your adjustment and the places around where you adjust, and the reasons behind why you're adjusting and all that kind of stuff. There is another little human being. There's another tiny nervous system. There are definitely things to consider and modifications, but at the end of the day, this is a mama. This is another human being that's going through an experience, a very unique and amazing experience. And you just have to honor that. And, they're just looking for the same needs to be met as everybody else. And I think that's where I start.
Awesome. So when you're out in the community, talking to pregnant moms, are you trying to encompass the entire aspect of what chiropractic could do for them in terms of maybe different needs that they have on their own personal level? Or do you dive into the health of the baby? Kind of, how do you divide that up?
Yeah, that's where the listening comes in, and to try to match what it is that they want to hear, what it is that they need to hear. With some mamas, you kind of get the feeling that they're open to more. They're open to the deeper why, the subluxation. The chiropractic that we have come to know and love. Right. And there's other mamas that are, sometimes they can be scared, or they can be, they can just be so focused on the baby that it's all about the baby. Some moms want to focus on the birth, so it's all about the birth. Some moms want to focus on just the pregnancy. So, again, it's all about meeting people where they're at. And if they're open to it, you can dive deeper right away, and slowly over time try to get into more of like, this isn't just for your pregnancy. This isn't just for the birth. This isn't just for the health of you and your baby. This is for everything. This is a lifestyle change. This is, or a lifestyle perspective, I should say. Mm-hmm. This is just good for your family. So getting there can be one giant step, or it can be a million tiny little steps, just like everybody else.
Right. Yeah. That's a huge takeaway. Because I think I've had a few pregnant moms recently, and they've been coming in for like, one had hip pain, one had, low back pain. And I was like very quickly to be like, oh, there's like this whole technique around, making sure the health of the baby, you want to dive in there. I'm like, okay, hold on for a sec. Like I can't make that big of a leap yet. Even though I'm like so excited they're coming in, getting checked, Definitely
a part of the hard part of, I think, in just generally, once you start seeing people, like real people, oh my God, I know how to do this. Like, oh my God, I know how to help. Like there's like, chiropractic does this, chiropractic does that, chiropractic will help with this. And, it's this amazing thing that we sometimes have to dial it down so they don't get blown out of the water. But it's hard, especially when you have a mama or any patient really that's almost, it's like they're already there and they kind of want the deeper. You're like, oh yeah,
right.
You start licking the lips and you're like, oh man, I'm going to go so deep. And so,
because it seems like the coolest bridge from like someone coming in for like a physical symptom to the function, the bigger picture, potentially, their entire family coming in for care, like forever. Like it's an awesome bridge, but there's an art to it.
Definitely. There's an art. Mm-hmm. There is, a lot to learn still. We're still freshies.
Right. Awesome, man. All right, so let's jump in, I guess, a little bit to, I'm going to go right for it, because let's just say the Webster technique. There's some ligament contacts where you're kind of right on near that ischial tube and the sacrum. What's your
sacrotuberous ligament, my man?
Yep. And then you have the round ligament.
Yep.
So how do you communicate like what the, some of the techniques you're going to be doing with them?
Yeah. So number one is to have it be clear in your mind and in your heart and in your intention, right? That everything's about mama's health, mama's safety, and nothing is going to be communicated well, I would say, if mama's needs for safety is not met. So you have to just go in there with confidence. And I always explain what the sacrotuberous ligament is. It's the fascial continuation of the top of the hamstrings that goes into the sacrum. It starts at your ischial tuberosity, which are the sit bones, and goes up to your sacrum, which is the tailbone. It can be slightly uncomfortable, but that's where we have a whole technique that relaxes the muscles, the ligaments, and everything around the pelvis, helps us keep the balance, helps you keep and hold your adjustment. And then just try not to make a huge deal about it. Try not to be all weird, but I always ask for permission. Even a mom that's been there for 6 months of care and knows the drill, I still ask for permission. The round ligament too in the belly. Mm-hmm. I know it's kind of silly.
Every single adjustment, walk me through that. If you're about to do the sacrotuberous
I'm about
ligament.
to do the sacrotuberous ligament. I'm like, all right, I'm going to contact the ligament that's on the top of your hamstrings or something like that. I don't say I'm going to get my finger really close to your butthole. I mean, that's what there it is, right? There's the white elephant.
There it is.
But, maybe I think I might have been able to do that with like my wife or, with somebody that I'm close with. But, I just try to keep it as professional as possible. And I just say, okay, I'm going to be contacting the ligament. And that's pretty much it. And same with the belly. There's something that people are really drawn to with bellies. I mean, I know I am. And you get a lot of attention, and sometimes people touch mama's bellies without asking. And I know that's just something in the pregnant culture that you have to be mindful of. And so I just want to honor my mamas and make sure that even though they have come in, they have signed the release, they know that my hands are on their backs and their bodies and all that.
Right.
I still ask, all right, now I'm going to touch the belly. Is that okay? Yes. Great. And it's always like, yep, of course. And they don't seem like they're, perturbed that I ask them that every time. I think it's just a good gesture and keeps everything professional. And we're there for a reason. And yeah, so making sure that you have that consent.
Awesome, man. Yeah, that's a big help, because I've been taking care. I mean, let's see, 3 months in now. So I've got a few, but I've definitely been, every single time just like asking, is it okay? We're about to touch do the ligament, and they've kind of they just say yes every time. From you, who's been doing it a little bit longer, I was curious if they start to get annoyed with that question over time. They're like, yes, I get it.
No one's been annoyed yet. And I've also had many patients that have come over from a practice that, let's say it's extremely high volume, where they're like, they didn't even know my name, and they just grabbed my neck and started going for things, And so, I think in general with all of our patients, it's good to have that connection first.
Right.
And, as long as they understand what's happening, everything's usually pretty golden. This is just, a time period and a place that's sensitive for people. And so, and for women. And so I just want to make sure that got my I's crossed and my T's dotted or whatever,
Totally. Yeah. So just, breaking it down to just really explaining, I like that you really explain like what the ligament is, what it does, when things kind of go out of place, what happens, could be sore, and really breaking it down.
And with the round ligament too, our big thing in our office, and my philosophy has always been to try to empower mamas to just be excited and be curious with their bodies through their experience. And so with the round ligament, usually my go-to is like, this is the round ligament. It attaches the uterus to the front of your pelvis. And then I show them how to find it. I'm like, here are your hip bones, your ASISs. Here is the front of your hip bones. Here is your navel or your belly button. Draw a straight line between those two. Now from that middle of that line, you draw a line to your pubic bone, which is this harder bone down here. Right, like towards that, in the middle of that, you're going to feel a ligament. You can kind of go back and forth, and if it's ever, tender, or you feel like you want to stretch it, you can do a very little or a very light massage on it, and that's totally fine. As the baby gets bigger, the round ligament usually gets a little bit more broad. It starts to widen out, or goes laterally, basically. So it goes to the outside. And so it might not always be right in the middle. So, you'll kind of feel it, and just try to empower them to be curious, and to have like, oh, if this is hurting, like I can do something on my own. Right.
Right.
And then, so that's kind of like my spiel with the round ligament, and it usually goes over well. And I have found that I'd say like 90% of the time when I'm doing a round ligament contact, that's when baby moves. And so I'm like, oh, wow, just going to say hi to baby. And so it's a really cool experience if you've never had that done. And that's, one of the reasons why I got into this is like, baby's right there. There's this little being of like, who knows what's going on in there.
Right.
It's really cool when they interact. It doesn't always happen. It doesn't have to happen, but it is fun. And so now I'm like, all right, let's see if he's up, or she's up, and it's fun.
That's awesome, man. Are you, let's see, what time during the pregnancy do you really start to kind of work with the ligaments?
I'll check it every time,
okay.
as early as they tell me that they're pregnant. I try to go through the routine of like, okay, you get the pillow, like first trimester, you're going to get the pillow, even though you might be okay laying flat. Since we have them, you start getting into a routine of it, make it like kind of normalize, like this is what you do. And then just check the ligaments, it's kind of like, at what point do you start to check Atlas? Well, as soon as the baby's out. Who knows if they have, I feel like it's a lot easier to get into the psoas without the big belly. It's not impossible, but it's just easier.
Right.
And so that's all around there as well. And that's part of the technique. And so being able to check everything that I would normally check throughout the pregnancy. Yeah.
Awesome, man. How has your approach, technique with pregnant moms, how has that evolved over like this last year, kind of since you've started practice? Because we talked a little bit before, like little things change here and there. You might not always stay super textbook to certain approaches. Like you're going to evolve a little bit based off of what you see, common things that show up, and allow yourself to kind of veer away a little bit. I'm curious kind of what that process has been like for you.
Yeah. So it has evolved, I think, like many students, where at first you follow the rules, make a system for yourself that you feel confident and comfortable and safe with. And then you start to play around, with, and I think we were talking about it like a week ago or so ago. It's like with a balanced and solid foundation and structure that gives you the freedom and the safety to explore and to express your art and to, have some cool flow. And then also, I was thinking about it later. I also think that's a necessary part of growth, that exploration. And it should be, I don't like shit on people, but I like to try to find it in all parts of my life. And so this is just another one where I have come to ask clear questions and then trust myself, trust the answers that I'm given, and have been a little bit more empowered to keep doing what I'm doing and to, stay safe, stay within my system, but also push the boundaries, explore. And so, yeah, it's hard to give you specifics on like what it is that I do now, but I know it has evolved for sure.
Right.
I think I have more of a comfortable, confident flow state with Mommas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because one of the tendencies is to really only address maybe the pelvis or, that area. And I imagine part of the artistry could be for you just like, all right, how am I going to integrate the rest of the spine with these adjustments? Is that fair?
Yep. And that's a big part of the Webster technique. If certain things say, like the heels are even, like you're not supposed to do anything else. Or if you do a sacrotuberous ligament, that's it. Mm-hmm. But it's like upper cervical technique. If it shows clear, that's it. Nothing else happens. And so it comes down to what are you doing, and why are you doing it?
Right.
And are you getting results? We're results driven practice, much like the source. And so when Mommas are doing well, you kind of continue to do it. You push a little bit and keep them on the upward trajectory. And if things are going south, then that's when you have to question your systems and what you've been doing.
For sure. And then you've mentioned training multiple times, and my understanding is like you got the Webster, technique. There's I think Claudia Anrig, she's another big one, right, with pregnant moms and kids. Do you recommend diving into those systems for people who are like just jumping in, maybe students or young docs who kind of want to learn more? Do you like to start there? Are there any other training practices that you would recommend docs and young students start at?
As far as like for pregnant mamas?
Yeah. Pregnant moms, kids, kind of going through that range.
Yeah. The Webster is where I started, and then I've taken a few ICPA seminars here and there for pediatrics, and then have just done a lot of the outside. There's like a whole bunch of other people that are helping mamas out. BirthFit is another big one in the chiropractic realm, although I believe that they have changed it to be kind of more inclusive to other practitioners.
Okay.
It started originally as like a chiropractic thing. And then Katy Bowmen is another big author. She did Move Your DNA, I believe.
Yep.
She calls herself a biomechanist, and she also has a book called Diastasis Recti, or Recti, however you like to say it. So I read that. She has a podcast that talks a lot about pregnancy and movement. And coming from a movement background, I kind of went that route as well. There are a lot of local, practices, I would say, that help mamas with with movement as well. And so kind of dove into that a little bit. But I haven't taken any other seminars that I would be able to refer people to. So
cool.
Just trying to incorporate like what it is that you already do and like, and then how can you add value to mamas? You know, it wasn't until my clinic days that I really realized that I wanted to help this population. So, you know, it's hard to say not knowing. If I knew that this was a population that I wanted to work with, I feel like there could have been a lot more that I would have done in school. You know, be more active in the peds club, do the ICPA while you're in school, because it's cheaper that way, you know. And
right.
Some moms just look for that. Some other practitioners will look you up. Like if I don't know anybody, you know, I've done my KTC shout out and I don't know anybody somewhere, that's definitely a place that I would look to see who's around. And so just for that, you know, that could be worth it. And so, yeah, there are things that you can do, resources that you can read into, and always trying to broaden the scope and not, I know that I am going to be the chiropractor for mamas and that's going to be my specialty, but knowing what other people do and why they do it, and how what I do supports them, that is also very, very important and critical as far as networking.
Okay.
Which is, I think, something you asked me earlier. I never got to.
No. So in terms of knowing what other practitioners do and really being able to understand that, so then you can communicate effectively what it is that you do and be able to work together.
Exactly. Yeah. We're trying to create a team. And I always say that, you know, it takes a village is a big quote that a lot of the mama world likes to use. And it's true. And it starts, you know, preconception. And so, knowing who is in your community that can also be a value add to your mamas, who can be a good resource. And that's one of the I don't know if it's little known, but it's I don't know if it's a secret, I should say, but working with other mamas, or I call them mama pros, anybody that works with mamas, so mama professionals.
Okay.
They are the salt of the earth. They are amazing. Always super positive. Everyone is just looking towards the health of mama and baby, and they're just so nice. It's really a fun community to work with. And now I'm very good friends with doulas and midwives and lactation consultants, and you know, they're people that I want to hang out with because they got it. You know, everyone's on
and in terms
the same value page.
And in terms of a safety, like a pregnant mom comes into you and you have such an awesome connection and network with these other mama pros, then she's going to feel so safe that, you know, you're always going to have her best interest in mind and, you know, be able to refer when needed. And I think that's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, we are not going to be the silver bullet for every mama, every patient for that matter. And having that network is such a big, I don't know, it's a feature or a benefit, but it's definitely worthwhile. And, you know, the more the merrier.
For sure. So another thought, going back to the safety, you know, for mom, is there kind of a protocol or system that you have in place for that? Or is it mainly just taking the time to communicate and be present and connect so that they feel safe in the office that allows you to create that, along with them understanding that you have a wide network of other professionals that you work with? Does that encompass most of the safety realm for pregnant moms?
Yeah, and I think just being having a couple certifications, but overall just being certain that their pregnancy, their health, you know, their postpartum, that they are going to be better off after they have seen me. That I'm, you know, I think that comes back to me just being a professional. You know, as much as this mustache wants to lie, I'm not that much of a creep. I'm not too creepy. I think most people tell me that. But just being a professional, you know, nothing sketchy about what it is that we do and why we do it. You know, everything's open, and the open communication, expectations being kind of met and set. The safety part is not something I have to constantly tend to. It's just something that it's baseline. Yeah, it's just baseline. I feel like everyone's safety is, their need is pretty met once they walk through the door. But there are things, the systems that we have in place of like how we do it, how we conduct ourselves, all that kind of stuff just adds to the legitimacy of our practice, I guess. And
right.
I think that's another big one.
Yeah. And going back to what we were talking about with the systems, and being able to have those, you have those down right now for safety, and then it can go right towards connection. So
exactly. Yeah,
that works.
And, like we were talking about earlier, is mamas come in at different, or with different needs. And sometimes they have been told that just like everybody else, they've been told chiropractors are quacks and it's crazy. And we're like, why would you do that when you're pregnant and blah, blah, blah. You just never know what someone's experience is. So asking them that is always it's pretty nice. I can just tell you where they're at. And I've had a lot of mamas that have come in like, I've been skeptical my whole life, but I'm having issues that no one else can solve. And you're my last choice. You're my last, what's it called? So, yeah, whatever this is. Me and sayings, man. My sayings. Last resort. There we go.
There you go.
And others, I've been doing chiropractic my whole life, and I just wanted somebody with the webs. I just wanted to make sure that my chiropractor has the certification that says they can work with pregnant mamas. So you never know.
Right. Man, there's so much to it. I got out of, school, and I didn't really spend too much time, working with pregnant moms. I didn't like to have too many. I don't think I had one in clinic, but, now in practice, having a few more, that has really driven me to wanting to learn more and to dive so much deeper in, because just want to be able to show up at my very best. So it's such a fun population, because there is the potential for so much in terms of education and being able to, transition into being able to see their baby, if the relationship is made and the education is there and along the way. So and to me, that's where the biggest shifts and the paradigm shift can happen, is with pregnant mom and kids. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Which is inspiring.
Totally. And I think that your level of interest can come and go, especially as men, as males. We don't have, that. I've never been pregnant and probably will never be pregnant myself. But I'm very curious. And it's something I've, this part of life is so intense and amazing, and, has its highs and lows. And so to dive into it deeper has always been something that I've wanted to do and now get to do, not only having had the experience with Lena being pregnant and Rio coming, but also on this side of the world, in the chiropractic end of it. So it's been great. It's all about, if you're curious and you want to learn, there is a whole world out there for you.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes the pain of not being where you're at with what you want to, I guess, not being where you want to be with the knowledge that you have, that drives you to take action quickly. And I think I've definitely experienced that with some of these pregnant moms. I'm like, if I just had Adrian in my ear right now, so it really drives me to dive deeper in and, gain the knowledge that I want to be that, professional for moms.
Totally. I think, Jordan Bonham just talked about that recently. I think either on your podcast or on the doing one of the camps of like, what level of professionalism do you want to take it to? Like, are these cases that you might not know exactly what to do driving you to learn more, versus like beating you down and just like, oh, well, I guess I just don't know.
Right.
You can, the other part of it is like, you can choose which ones drive you, just feed the natural, what's it called? The natural curiosity. If this is what you're constantly thinking when you see pregnant moms, then follow it. Yeah. If someone's coming in with a hurt shoulder and you want to like figure out like, what muscle exactly is this? Like, I have a pattern of patients coming in, like, I really want to dive into the shoulder. And, if if that floats your boat, then that's great. You know, we need more shoulder people out there. So
Yeah.
it's all about curiosity, and that drive comes innately. You just have to listen.
Right. Yeah. And not allowing other outside in sources, you know, try and dictate or should on you about who you should see and what you should be passionate about in relation to chiropractic and how you serve. So yeah, very true, man. Want to dive in, switch gears a little bit and just see like any, you know, strategies, habits, things you're checking out at this point. I know life just continues to get more full for you. So in terms of like having your own systems in place for your own training and recuperative strategies and all those things, anything new or anything on the horizon that you've been checking out and has been working for you?
Yeah. So I think the training part, as far as the pregnancy aspect of it, you know, I'm constantly podcasting. And so the big ones would be like Bronstein. I'm pretty sure you've had him on the Kiddo cast. And there's this dude.
Is that for general public, or would you say?
Yeah, it actually is.
Okay.
Yeah. It's for parents that are considering chiropractic care for their kids.
Okay.
And
so you can pick up a lot of education.
Oh yeah. That's part of the training. It's like, how do I communicate? Like we were talking about earlier, all this information that I'm super excited about. Like, how can I just be calm, cool, and collected and give the people what they want? You know, the short and the simple, the sweet, the layman's terms. So he does a really good job of diving deep, but then making it very normalizing. I think that's one of their hashtags. And then normalize chiropractic. And then Dr. Berlin, what's his first name? Dr. Berlin, he's in LA. He has a podcast called The Informed Chiropractor. It's for the general public again, and he interviews a lot of like celebrities because he's in LA, or other mom pros that they're also pregnant. So it's pretty cool. It's a cool perspective. It's more of just a conversation with, you know, the pregnancy or with pregnant moms and about the pregnancy and postpartum. Here locally, there's the Fourth Trimester podcast with a postpartum doula that interviews other mom pros and the benefits of their service to mamas pre and post. So that's a really good resource. There is the what is that? Happy Kids or Happy Baby, Happy. Oh man, what is it? I guess I could look it up. He's another chiropractor in San Diego that does more of just straight like what chiropractic can do for you and what other services can do for mamas. And it is called Healthy Births, Happy Babies. There we go.
Nice.
And then I've listened to a lot of Katy Bowmen's podcast. I forget what that one's called. And then training for mamas. Yeah, other than that, you know, just working closely with a lot of other doulas, midwives, masseuses, lactation consultants, being part of over here in San Francisco, there's this thing called Mama Resource Network, that there's a bunch of practitioners on that as a network. So just being active in the community and trying to take the patients, the pain points of the patients and what they're going through, and trying to incorporate it. Right. Spinning babies is another big thing that I look into all the time. Yeah, just go down rabbit holes, you know, and see where they find me. I try to talk to a mom pro at least once a week, if not once every other week, and try to like basically interview them and see what they're all about. Maybe have a window to talk about what I do. So the communication I'm constantly working on as far as training.
Awesome.
So other things like recovery strategies, just like in my life as a new father myself, knowing that I need to prioritize my exercise and my movement way more than I have. The first 6 months, Rio wasn't sleeping too well, and it's just chaotic. You know, new parent, you kind of have to go through it to understand the marathon of sleep deprivation. But now that we're coming out of the fog, I have just made a priority to not only for my, well-being and my physical movement, but also for my wife's, because I know it adds even more to her life if she gets a moment away from the baby and is able to exercise. I know how much lighter she is when she gets that, and her more of her needs are being met. So
Right.
as far as recovery, it's actually active. It's active recovery, and it's making sure that we prioritize that. And now we are actually getting sleep. We just started sleep training at the beginning of the month, and he's sleeping through the night now. So it's, oh man, it's a dream. I'm sure it's gonna go up and down, but right now getting 7-8 hours of sleep a night, it's like, whew, life changing. It's unbelievable.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Just going back, couple follow-up questions with that. The podcasts and different things, will you ever send those to your patients?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This newest podcast I'm going to send out to all my patients. It's called The Beacon. I don't know if you've heard of it. So for those of you who don't know, Dr. Raymond Daniels has another podcast out there, and it is amazing. I was telling Ray in the pre-chat that I listened, because I crush podcasts, obviously. And I listened to
yours already.
Yeah, all of them that are out, done. They're pretty short-ish. They're like 40 minutes-ish.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I listen to everything in double time, so it goes faster. And it's amazing. It's really good. It talks about chiropractic, and it's for your patients, correct?
Yep.
And so it's all about, it's communication. As a chiropractor, listening to these things, it's like, how are these guys communicating it? Everybody, the more you learn, the more you know about that, the more tools basically you have in your bag to meet someone where they're at. And
right.
I think you just do a really good job. You guys are psyched. I love hearing your voice, of course, and it's another window into your growth, which has been amazing. But like I told you, I listened to it and I was all fired up about chiropractic and the philosophy. And that whole morning, those people got the best table talk they've gotten in a couple of weeks. So thank you, man.
Yeah.
If you haven't listened to it. The Beacon out of Family First Chiropractic. I listen on iTunes, but I'm sure you can find it on Stitcher as well. There's a plug for you.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, it's great. Congratulations.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. And like you said, I think even when other chiropractors listen to it, and it gives you something to compare to of like maybe how you're communicating, and you might not dig every aspect of it, but it gives you this thing to think about and kind of reflect back on how you're communicating that, or a perspective or thought process.
Yeah, and in the end, that will serve me while I serve my mamas. That'll serve me while I serve other patients. It's communication is what it all comes down to in chiropractic. The principles and the care will speak loudly through, no matter what you're talking about. If you're talking about cars, if you're talking about bicycles, if you're talking about pregnancy, or if you're just talking pain,
Right.
Everyone's got it.
Yeah.
So
right. Awesome. And then another just topic I wanted to just highlight was just, I liked how you said, interview basically one of the mom pros per week. It's just, I think that's so important of just really trying to genuinely, authentically gain insight about what they're doing and how they can, serve your patients as well. And then, like you said, oftentimes you'll get a window of them being curious about what you do if they don't already know. And you might not necessarily always bank on that window, and I don't think we should do that for that reason. Just really be able to go in, because people can feel that, like, oh, they're just talking to me because they're trying to get me to ask about them.
Right.
Yep.
But
I think you've done such an awesome job of that, of really connecting with a community that there's a lot of chiros in the SF, and that community is huge. So you've really made a path there.
Yeah, and I got we have a Coach Kevin Cape, who is on this podcast now as well. He and I talk every week, and we're talking about how that awkwardness of like going into the meeting, knowing that they kind of want to talk to you, you kind of want to talk to them, and it's like it is networking, and so you can come out and straight say it, like, I would love you to trust me enough to refer all of your patients to me. But I know it's going to take time to earn that trust, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to earn that trust. But in the end, if our values align and we're doing everything possible for mom and baby and the health of the family, then we're aligned. We're connected and we're fine. So what else do I have to do to earn your trust, kind of thing? And so you can literally say that.
Yeah, that's powerful.
And it goes over really well in my experience so far.
Yeah, because your intention has been set right away. There's no guessing.
I definitely want you to refer everybody to me, but I know that's going to take some time to earn your trust, and I'm willing to do it. And once that's off the table and you just start talking from the heart, and they understand and you realize that you are there for the reasons that you say you are, then boom.
That's powerful, man. And they've responded well to that. What do they typically need from you? I mean, that is probably the biggest step of you even saying that and just speaking from the heart. But typically going forward, is there?
What do they need? They still, it comes back to like, oh, when should I refer moms to you? It's like, okay, well, as soon as you see them, that's a start. As soon as you see them, if they got this going on, if they have that going on, like whatever they are doing, let's say a doula sees mom as their emotional kind of guide, support, all that kind of stuff, and they're with them through most of the pregnancy. Usually doulas are in pretty early, and so for them, there's so many entry points, in how they are going to be interacting with the mom versus, let's say, a lactation consultant, which might do a class during the pregnancy, but most of their work is going to be done post. And so mamas that they're going to see are in the thick of it. There's this weird perspective I've found, and this is totally my opinion and observation, that in our culture, you see a pregnant mama and you're like, oh my gosh, this flower, do everything for her. And they're like, it's not that they're weak, but like, oh, let me get the door for you. Let me help you up the stairs. And that's great. Like, pamper mamas all you can. And then postpartum, everyone's all about the baby and they forget about mama. And mama just went through the most athletic event of her life, and it's brutal. There's going to be some trauma to your tissues, one way or the other, right? Yeah. And it can be a great experience with no suffering, or it can be sufferfest, and anywhere in between. And so, postpartum, mamas need a lot of help, and they're in the pain for a lot of the time, subjective, of course, and they just need more support. And so the needs that mamas are going to be finding and needing at that time is different than at the beginning, where it's all about like, oh, this amazing experience that you're going to have. Like, let's prepare. Afterwards, it's like, oh, all right, let's get you back. Let's move forward. Or so not get you back, but get you up to speed of where you can take your body now. And so different needs show up pre and post. Yeah. And so talking to different professionals that deal with either pre or post will bring up different, what do you call those? Like on-ramps or inlets, conversation starters about what it is that we do and how we can help.
Yeah, that's huge. So really being able to kind of tailor the conversation to depending on who you're talking to. And, that's something that you've talked about before, you and I, of just sometimes the challenges when mom, has the baby and then becomes all about the baby, and then maybe they get off care for a little bit. Does that still kind of happen sometimes, or has it been getting better with moms kind of staying under care with you afterwards?
Yeah. I'm still early enough to where it's kind of like shotgun, like sometimes they do this, sometimes they do that. Like sometimes it was me, sometimes it was just them. Just trying to have as much communication with them about the power of chiropractic post-pregnancy is all I can do. I can just inform them. I can check in with them, let them know that I'm here in any way that they need me. If it's just a phone call, if it's information, if it's an adjustment, and then just encouraging them that you're going to be better off when you're adjusted than not. And also trying not to force that on mamas.
Exactly. And I guess that's really the art form too, because when do you start talking about, getting mom adjusted after the birth?
Yeah.
So I imagine it's before that last visit before she goes in.
Yeah. Well, you never know. Right. So once they get into the third trimester, you always bring it up, like post pregnancy, we help with inflammation, we help with alignment. Like you want to heal correctly and you want to heal at your best. Yeah.
So say this
But
say it's my first year, third trimester, and you haven't really been talking about post-pregnancy yet.
Yeah.
What would that, like, if I'm the mom on the table, how would you go through that adjustment in terms of communication for the giving care after pregnancy?
Yeah, so I'm always looking for the window, and like, when are they going to be open and ready to talk about the post-pregnancy part, postpartum. And it's just asking and being sensitive to the window. And then as far as like specifics, I don't know. I usually try to find excitement of when they've had a good or a positive experience. Be like, oh man, I'm so glad that you were here. This is going great. Or that was, you're going to see a lot of benefits from that adjustment. I can't wait for you to see the, postpartum, like what we can add postpartum. Like, so what we're doing might relieve some of the pain and the pressure, sure, but we're also helping your body heal. And you're going to be doing a lot of healing after this the biggest event of your life, physically. Mm-hmm. And so, trying to bring it back to like the bigger picture of what it is we're doing and how we're helping the body do what it does, which is heal. Yeah. That is where I try to start to weave that in. Right. But I always talk about it day one, of course.
Okay.
Always.
Yeah.
So they have heard it at some point.
Yeah. Because those are the transition points that I think are challenging, right? You want the mom comes in, she's getting care, she's getting it, but there's those windows of, all right, are you going to bring your kid in to get adjusted? Are you going to be adjusted afterwards,
Right.
So yeah, those are good windows, and being able to ask the, proper questions at that moment to facilitate that.
Yeah.
Cool, brother. Dude, I think that's a wrap for the art of adjusting pregnant mamas. Thank you, man.
Yeah. There's always so much more I want to say. Lena says hi, by the way.
Oh, hi, Lena.
She's just here. That's why I'm a little distracted. There's always a million things like you said earlier, or like we were talking about earlier. Like, I can just keep on talking, baby. Yeah. So it's good. It's good. Yeah. We'll have follow-up episodes too. And if there's ever any questions that you have, let me know. Yeah, will do, man. And then real quick. I'm sure there's, go ahead. You went to Puerto Rico, Mexico, or Puerto Rico for the KTC trip. That's right. Seminar, and crushed that. Had a good time. Crushed it. It was great. It was a lot of fun. It was great learning from Dr. Jordan, Dr. Darren, Dr. Josh, of course, and get to hang out in such a beautiful, beautiful land with beautiful people, man. It was all fun. Definitely put in some hard work, but man, we had a good time. Cool, man. I'm excited that you're kind of jumping back in a little bit in the midst of. Definitely, it was a little hiatus. Yeah, it's tough having a family, being in practice, being fresh out, trying to market, and then still, serve the KTC community. But appreciate you so much, man. I really. It gives more back than I put in. So that's, you got to keep feeding the beast. Yeah. All right, brother. Yeah. Can people find you on Facebook? Is that the best way to kind of reach out to you? Yeah, Facebook. I don't always know that there's like weird, if we're not friends, messages sometimes get through, sometimes they don't. Okay. But yeah, Facebook, their Instagram, Adrian_Villalba, I believe. Usually I try to have it mostly like mom success stories there and mom and dad tips. My email, just Dr. Adrian Villalba anytime, or at Gmail. And, GoldenGateChiropracticCenter.com is our spot. It's got our office number there. If you ever need, let us know. Awesome, bro. Thank you so much for your time, man. Thank you. Really appreciate it. All right, buddy. Happy New Year. Yeah, Happy New Year to you. Peace. All right, TAC listeners, if you enjoy this one, head over to iTunes or Stitcher so you can subscribe to the podcast and get an automatic download of our newest episode each and every week. While you're at it, we would love a review, a comment, a rating, anything that will allow us to reach more docs and more students and continue to raise the bar in chiropractic performance training.
If you haven't yet checked out the artfulchiropractor.com, you can do that for show notes for this episode and previous ones, along with any of the resources that our docs are dropping. And if you haven't yet checked out the Kairos Training Culture Community Facebook page, you have to get there, send a request with a message of who you are and why you want to be a part of the group, because there are so many amazing golden nuggets that are being dropped every single day that are elevating the chiropractic performance game. So with that, I hope you all have an amazing rest of your week as always, and until next time, peace.